This episode of The Clear Out was recorded on the 18th of June 2024 at home in Wicklow. And in a nutshell, it is a shortish episode dedicated to the idea of not speaking or putting thoughts out there before thinking. And this is focused really on the internet, on online spaces, and it is a reaction to the racist abuse that the brilliant, amazing Irish athlete Rhadisat Adeleke was subjected to last week in the wake of her amazing performances at the European Athletics Championships. So it's, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of going, I'm just trying to express my anger and disdain for racists in Ireland, for racists everywhere, I suppose. But enough is enough. And I lay out in this episode a very simple guiding rule for all internet activity, particularly that activity that gives you an opportunity to share your thoughts. So, if nothing else, you're gonna walk away from this episode with a new rule that I recommend you apply and share liberally. Okay, find out what it is around the corner. I'll see you then. Bye.
Not gonna change my mind, leaving the dream behind.
Hi, my name is Dara Clear and you're listening to The Clear Out. You're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It is a pleasure to have you here. Here. Where is that? Where is that place? Here. It's this moment you're listening to this episode of the podcast, whenever that is and wherever that is, because I've done my part. By the time you are listening to my voice, my work has been done, and I'm somewhere else now. But you're listening to this as if it is now. It's a strange agreement. It's a strange contract, and it requires an extraordinary leap of faith on my part, which involves believing anyone is listening at all, ever. I do have some data to suggest that some people do listen, so that's nice. Anyway, the thing I'm enjoying at the moment is the colour green. June in Ireland, you could argue that that Ireland is green all year round. Of course, that's something Ireland is famous for. But there's something about the lushness of the green in June, just that early summer vitality and vibrancy and richness of the green. It's overwhelming. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's such a calming, soothing colour. And I'm looking out the window here at the grass and the trees, the bushes, and it's just green, 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 different shades of green. A blackbird was just mooching across the grass a few moments ago. At the other side of #blessed, more green and a better viewpoint than where I'm sitting at the moment to appreciate the trees, the tall trees that surround the cottage here. Soon to be vacated. We're leaving #blessed. I did mention that earlier this year, did I? Circumstances have conspired to mean we have to leave this beautiful place. But luckily we have located somewhere else to live quite nearby. More on that in due course. But we have about 6 weeks left here in #blessed, and I'm trying to to not take it for granted. I'm trying to appreciate my time here. But that green is just, it's just magic. I absolutely love it. So how nice for me to be here amongst all this lusciousness, all this nature. Pepper the dog is out for the count in the other room. She was with me today. I was working and I was helping, amongst other things, helping to erect a fence, and I was digging holes, and there were a couple of big fields around, and Pepper was with me because my girls, the possessive, my women, my wife, my daughter, not yours, mine, they are away at the moment. They've gone to Australia for a few weeks, back to the mother country, back to where my wife is from, back to where my daughter was born. They've gone over to see my wife's family, so I'm all alone. There's nobody here but me. There's nobody here but me and the 2 remaining chickens and the remaining cat and Pepper the dog. So we're having quality time together. And Pepper was with me today at work for that reason, because the girls weren't here to have her here. I didn't want to leave her here locked up all day. And she had the best day, running around, bounding through the fields, which had really tall, grass and weeds and whatnot. And she was like an impala, I suppose, just bounding these bounces, chasing after sticks. And then I went to the river on the way home from work and had a swim in the river. And like a complete animal, I washed myself with an eco-friendly bar of soap. Is that going to get me cancelled? I know. I sudsed myself up, and I am a man. I'm not a Ken doll. I have hair on my body, and it's a very effective lather producer, a lather encourager. So I soaked myself. I'm doing this as if I'm a man who has no access to modern amenities and washing facilities, but it's just so lovely to do that. And then I took off my clothes and I washed myself with a bar of soap. It was bloody ripper, mate. Anyway, the water's still pretty cold in the river. The sea temperature is not as cold. But Pepper was with me there, my faithful companion, looking at me covered in suds at the end of my swim, going, what the hell is he doing? And then, as it happened, my younger brother Danny, happened along. I could see him. You can see 2 bridges from the river where I swim. There's a railway bridge, and then beyond that there's the road bridge. And my brother was standing at that bridge looking down at me. So I had a chat with him after my swim, and that was nice. Came home here, freezing, actually lit the stove, made myself a massive dinner, and then I thought, I cannot do this. I will not have the energy to do the podcast. I'm too banjaxed. But here I am, like a good soldier. It's going to be a short episode. I'm not going to lie. It's not going to be a long episode. But I was just down in the other room with Pepper, and she... There's nothing quite like an exhausted puppy. I mean, she's a dog. I know she's a dog, but she's not even 2, so she's very puppy-ish. And just looking at her trying to stay awake, and she's just so wrecked from her entire day of exertions and a new place to be and a couple of new people to meet and hang out with. And she's just exhausted. And then with the extra heat from the stove, that was it. That was the final hammer on the back of the head. She just collapsed. Anyway, there you go. How lovely. Isn't that nice? Is that nice to get a bit of a blow-by-blow of my day? Is that just incredibly boring? But look, there you go. What can you do? I'm just doing what I do here on my podcast, okay? And no one asked you to listen. I did actually on social media. I'm always asking people to listen. But it is what it is. Now listen, really what I want to talk about, and I was kind of hesitating, so I was kind of like, do I have the energy? Do I have the mental sharpness to tackle what I want to tackle? And maybe it'll just be, it'll be a first pass. But look, let me just put it this way, okay? All I'm going to talk about for the next 15, 20 minutes or so, and I might just wrap it up then. I think we should just have a single solitary rule for the internet and all social media platforms and all platforms that would give anybody the opportunity to express themselves, including podcasts. So, I could be doing myself a disservice here with what I'm about to say. I could be hoist by my own petard, as Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet. But here it is. Here's the rule, okay? Here's the rule that I think we should all abide by, and some should be made to abide by. It's very simple. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So let's imagine the internet is a world and you have to enter through a door or a gateway, some sort of portal, before you get into the world of the internet. And in huge, big, bright letters, maybe in neon, maybe flashing, maybe with an exclamation point at the end, there should be that sentence: just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that would maybe just give somebody pause before they open their big yap, before they jump in with both feet, before they stick their oar in, before they share every thought in their brain, every response, every reaction, every opinion. Imagine if people stopped themselves and said, oh yeah, I don't need to do this. I don't have to do this. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. Because let's face it, the internet has given so much airspace to so many idiots and so many bigots and so many homophobes and so many anti-Semites and so many racists and so many gobshites. That's a great Irishism. A gobshite. An idiot. A moron. And it's not just that. It's not just that. The internet has also given people this extraordinary receptacle into which they can spew their emotional vomit on a daily basis. And in fact, there are platforms with their algorithms that encourage that are constantly sticking their fingers down the throats of people who are full of emotional vomit and brain vomit. And those fingers go, oh! And then the person who hasn't read the sign that should be there at the doorway to the internet goes, wah! And they let rip with all of their crap. And they feel great, I presume. And I don't know, are you not sick of it? Are you not sick of all the idiots online? All the toxic opinionating, all the hate, online, all the self-righteousness and all the self-justification and just all the stupidity and the ignorance and the ugliness. No? I try not to consume too much of this stuff. I try to stay away. I try to be careful about what I expose myself to online. But last week in Ireland, here in Ireland, there was, what do you want to call it? There was just this horrible situation where an extraordinarily talented and brilliant and impressive and beautiful young Irish woman who happens to be black was subjected to loads of racist abuse after distinguishing herself at the European Athletics Championships, where she contributed to a gold medal win for the mixed 400 metres relay team, where she won a silver medal for herself in individual 400 metres, and where she contributed to a silver medal for the 400 metre women's team. Have I got that right? They didn't win gold, did they? Mixed guys won gold. It was an extraordinary week for Irish athletics. This woman, if you don't know, if you're Irish, you do know, I'm sure, Rhadisat Adeleke, this amazingly talented, brilliant woman from Tala in Dublin, so just kind of southwest Dublin, who has been out in America, I guess on an athletics scholarship, plying her trade out there and getting some great coaching out in the States. And her star continues to rise because she is an exceptional talent. And, you know, last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago, you know, when these extraordinary, you know, sporting events were happening, these great moments in Irish sporting history were happening, and she was at the centre of so much of it. And, you know, and just great, you know, and a great sort of collective effort from the Irish athletics representatives. You know, some disappointment for some athletes and triumph for others, but I mean, an unprecedented haul of medals and podium placements for Irish athletes, the first time in a very long time. And it's a big deal. It's a really big deal, you know, in Ireland. You know, we're a tiny country and we don't get to excel at the very top level of sport on a regular basis. You know, every now and again, you know, we produce an outlier, we produce somebody exceptional. You know, maybe Katie Taylor, the boxer. You know, we've had so many different athletes do so well, but it's not, you know, a weekly experience here. It's not, you know, we don't produce reams and reams of amazing sports stars. So we really cherish them. I mean, if you're interested in sport, and, you know, Irish people, you know, a lot of Irish people, you know, love their sport. And, you know, we have a very, I think anyway, we have a very strong sense, a very keen sense of the scale factor. You know, this factor of being such a small population, such a small island. So when one of our own does well on an international platform, I mean, you know, this extends to other fields as well. It extends to, you know, the arts. It extends to, you know, acting and literature and music. It extends to other fields as well. Like, you know, these successes, they come back. We hear about them because it's a big deal. It's a big deal when you're a small nation, like ours. And then you have something like athletics, you know, running. You know, there's always been a pretty healthy athletic scene in Ireland, just like there's always been a pretty good boxing scene in Ireland. And, you know, those scenes, those worlds, they just tip away regardless of whether we have someone excelling at the top level. You know, we've had other recent successes, you know, in rowing, for example, with the boys from Skibbereen. But maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was surprised when I heard last week, to realise that this, you know, that Rhadisat Adeleke has been getting loads of online abuse after her success in the athletics championships. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, what the hell is going on? How can someone think, this isn't a cause for celebration? How can this not be a moment ago? Isn't it great? Like, isn't this kind of new emerging diversity in Ireland something to be celebrated, when Irish people of different ethnic backgrounds are doing so well, have managed to thrive, in Ireland, when of course we know that they've been subjected to to racism and the extra challenge of dealing with that type of discrimination through their lives. And then to have to to get to the very top and to be excelling and to be lauded, nationally, internationally, to be someone that the eyes of the world are kind of turning to and going, who's this? And then to go, to realise, all right, but there's still these gobshites back home who just want to call me the N-word, who want to diminish me, who want to pile their hate on top of me. And it's not even depressing. I mean, like, it doesn't depress me. It just, it's infuriating. It disgusts me. It disgusts me. And I just, there's just no justification. There's none. It's just hate. It's hate. It's bigotry. It's racism. And it is absolute. It's just rubbish. And there is no place for it. There's no justification for it. It's, where does it come from? Like, I presume it, there's anger somewhere there, and there's fear somewhere there. And there's, I'm not making any assumptions about education. I was going to say there's ignorance there. There might not be ignorance. I don't know. Like, maybe people, are very well informed about the topic of race, but I don't know. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just going, this is great. I can show everyone, that I'm a racist, and pile on to this young woman, this brilliant Irish athlete. And then I can go and tell my friends, look what I did today. Look what I made. I made someone cry. I called her this. Look, amn't I great? No, you're not great. You're a gobshite. And you need to deal with your own stuff. Sort your own stuff out. And, fundamentally, it comes back to, if you've nothing good to say, just shut up. How about that? Yeah? If you can't contribute something positive to the conversation, maybe don't speak. And I'm not talking about trying to cancel people. Like, if you've got some real issues and you've thought about them and you've worked some stuff out and you got yourself, well informed and educated, and you've got something that you think, no, this is, this has merit. Yeah, well, let's hear you. Let's see what you have to say. But just being racist, no. Enough is enough, lads. Come on. Will you just cop on to yourselves? Who are you angry with, really? That's what I'm asking myself. Are you really angry with this, with Rhadisat Adeleke? Is that who you're angry with? Is it her fault? Is your pain and suffering her fault? Is your insecurity her fault? Is your, I don't know, is it, if it's misogyny, if it's xenophobia, we know it's racism. I don't know where that's located. I don't know where that's come from. I don't know what gave birth to that. I don't think it's her fault. I think you need to deal with your own stuff. I think you need to sort yourself out. And I think you need to think about, like, why should other people suffer for your bigotry, your anger? Like, from a wellness point of view, thinking about this through a sort of a wellness lens, a wellness frame. This came up the other day. I don't know, who was I talking to? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was thinking about the kind of the burden of anger. Who should be responsible for your anger? Who should carry that burden? Now, I know there are two different things, because I think a lot of people carry the burden of other people's anger. People who can't control their anger hurt others. And that's a burden in its own right. Just being on the receiving end of somebody else's inability to control their anger. And I speak as someone who, occasionally fails in this area, I feel. But when I'm angry and when I lose control of myself, I still feel pretty clear-eyed about it, that it's nobody else's responsibility to sort this out. It's only my responsibility to sort it out. The burden of responsibility of getting, increased understanding of where my anger is coming from, that's on me. That's not up to anybody else to kind of go, here, but we need to help this lad sort himself out. It's not for other people to share that load. And you're failing as a person. I'm sorry. That might be extreme. And of course, you can start, dropping in all kinds of qualifiers here. Oh, well, it's a mental health issue. Grand, I accept that. Of course, if there's like some real imbalances there, and other elements at work. But, if you have the presence of mind and the capacity to jump online, to fire out, some racist abuse at somebody, I'd be surprised if that's somebody who is dealing with, a profound mental health issue or a clinically diagnosed mental health issue, that's maybe a bit of a disingenuous thing to say, because of course, to suffer from ill mental health, it doesn't have to be diagnosed, and it could be a myriad of different things that aren't necessarily, bipolar disorder or personality disorder or, whatever else it might be. Anxiety, depression, whatever. But I suppose you could argue it's an illness of mind if you're directing hatred at other people. Now, I've spoken before. I've put my hand up and I've said quite a while ago on the Clear Out that I have hatred for real estate agents and hipsters. Okay, so and I've looked at that. I've looked at that issue and gone, it's not great. I shouldn't be directing hate, but I'm like, they don't contribute anything to society. They don't. Real estate agents, broadly speaking, are parasites. And hipsters are just phony posers. So what are they delivering to the human good? Nothing. And yet they enjoy a disproportionate amount of of power and attention, and I just wish they just feck off. So, but obviously I'm laughing at myself, and I'm speaking somewhat facetiously, even though I do have hate in my heart for real estate agents and hipsters. But hatred, like genuine, true, real hatred, is a disfiguring element to have in one's soul, in one's heart, in one's mind on a daily basis. So I'm not spending my days hating real estate agents and hipsters. If they come up in conversation casually, I might make a comment. I might make it clear that I want to disparage them, but otherwise they're not occupying any real estate in my brain. And I'm getting on with my life, and I'm generally trying to go about my business with a certain amount of care and consideration for others, for myself, trying to be positive and proactive and live with a certain amount of self-control and discipline, and just pursue the things that I want to pursue, and hopefully they'll get me to a better place in my life. I mean, that's pretty much it. And sometimes I think, where are these people? Like, how can they prioritize this? They're making time to put this hatred out there, and I just find myself wondering, okay, so then what happens? Like, is it so? I mean, I earlier I suggested that they go and tell their friends then, or they go and tell their mammies, this is what I did today, mammy. But maybe maybe it's very secretive, or maybe they're part of groups. I don't know, online groups, forums, whatever. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just found myself when I heard that this racist abuse was happening. And like, I remember at the start of last year, Emer O'Neill, the TV personality and like anti-racism advocate, I remember her speaking about the abuse that she got after she took exception to a really unfunny racist joke that Tommy Tiernan, the stand-up comedian, made in his stand-up act, and she got terrible abuse after that. And just go back to your own country. She lives in Bray, which is in Wicklow, where I live. She lives just up the road, half an hour away, 40 minutes away. And she's written about and spoken about very clearly her experience of racism and discrimination and what she's had to listen to all her life. And I don't know. Like, how do you challenge stuff like this? And it's like, I wouldn't for a millisecond try to argue, racism doesn't exist. It's a human reaction. Obviously there's unconscious biases, but there's also conscious biases. And I think some people just enjoy it. I just think some people enjoy giving expression to that impulse. And it's something, there's some relationship between that and power on some level. And obviously, and of course the internet is extraordinarily helpful in this regard. It allows for the echo chamber. You'll find your people very quickly if you start piling on the racist rhetoric, the racist vitriol. Just like if you start piling on Semitic stuff, or homophobic stuff, or transphobic stuff, or whatever it might be. I've been searching in vain for a real estate agent bashing page or a hipster bashing group. No luck so far. But please, do reach out and let me know. But look, it just comes back to this thing of just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you can get online and share your poxy opinion about another person. The internet is full of it. Every other notification that I get on my phone from Twitter, now X, I can just tell it's the start of somebody piling on to somebody else. I've just no time for it. I've no time for it. It just doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone. It's just a little drop of poison in a certain part of your brain that's going, yeah, let's put the boot in, to somebody. And cancel culture is part of all this as well. Let's take this person down. Let's destroy their life. And the kind of the glee with which people wield that pitchfork given the opportunity. So there's a herd mentality here as well, and there's kind of a safety in numbers, and of course the internet, there's a safety in anonymity. Although if you go back and dig into the Emer O'Neill story, she made it very clear that a lot of people who were abusing her weren't doing anything to disguise their identity. They weren't doing anything to obscure who they were. You could go, oh right, that's okay, great, marvellous. But again, there's always part of me that goes, what's this really about? Because I don't know. I'm just very distrustful of the idea that the racism is really about racism, if you know what I mean. That it's really about, I hate black people, or I hate brown people, or I hate yellow people, or whatever. I'm like, where's this coming from? What's it rooted in? What's this deep unhappiness, or this deep suspicion, or this deep anger that you want to lash out at people? And I think often it's you feel hard done by yourself, perhaps. These are people who feel like that they've been shafted in some way, that they haven't got what they're owed or deserve. I mean, I'm not sure if I believe in that as an idea either. Who owes anybody anything? I mean, if you've listened to the podcast at all, fundamentally, I'm a socialist, and I think, public money should, tons of public money should go into providing the best facilities for everyone. Particularly health, particularly education, particularly housing, accommodation, transport, public amenities, public facilities. Tax people who have buckets of money, who can afford it. Yes, social welfare state, bring it on. Help people. I'm a freelance artist. I'm a freelance creative person. And I could definitely do with some help. And it should, good. If I was paying lots of taxes, I'd be like, yeah, great. Give it to people. Help people live happy lives. Help people live happy, fulfilled lives. But the idea of desert, as in you deserve something. I haven't been given what I deserve, what I deserve. I haven't been given what I'm owed. I'm wary of that as a position. It's like I'd be more into, and it's probably a bit hippy dippy, and it's a little bit magical thinking. But I'm like, put your energies into good things, and hopefully good things will come back to you. I know it's a bit karmic. And as I say, it's kind of like the law of attraction. But I just think that's the that's the way to go for me. Like, that works for me, because I'm not someone who's ever been about chasing the money. And that's why I have none. And that can really suck at times. But at other times I'm like, no, I'm happy. I'm happy with the choices I've made. I don't really do regrets. It's not that I can't own my failings or bad behaviour, or own mistakes, or question certain decisions. But no, I mean, I am where I am. I'm here. It's now. This is where I've got, based on the decisions I've made, the best decisions I've made with the information that was available to me, the best decisions I've made based on what I felt capable of doing at that time. And it's a balancing act constantly. And I tell you what, part of that balancing act, it doesn't involve throwing shit at other people, because it's not other people's fault. Okay? And also the idea of, punch up, don't punch down. If you're going to go after people, why are you going after individual athletes and, black women, as it happens? I think the Irish black academic, Emma, is it Dabiri? She's very good if you get a chance to hear her speak or read her stuff. She also has spoken about getting racist abuse, having her Irishness questioned all the time. I mean, and that's a key theme. That Emer O'Neill has spoken about that as well. Having your Irishness questioned, like questioning your authenticity, questioning the right to be who you say you are. I mean, one of the biggest sources of stress and personal crisis in a person's life is not being allowed to be who you are. And that creates such conflict when you are being denied permission, whether that's explicit or whether that's more more subtle or more hidden or more manipulative or more passive, but it's still a denial. It's still refusal of permission to be who you are. And I suppose it's that thing, it's that great question that I guess black Irish people must get asked a lot. Where are you from originally? And that's already opening the door to, you're not really who you you're not really one of us. You're not really who you say you are. So I don't know. Again, like a lot of these things, think more, speak less, and just because you can doesn't mean you should. I'm sure that's how a lot of people feel when they listen to my podcast. I'm sure that's how a lot of people feel when they are subjected to one of my poems. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But yeah, racists, just fuck off. Sorry. I try to keep the cursing to a minimum on the pod, but and just go away. We're not interested in your shite. We're not interested. And I'm saying that confidently. I really am. I'm saying that with great confidence. I mean, there's lots of people. I think most Irish people are not interested in that shite. So really, just stick it. Just go away and do some work on yourselves and sort yourselves out. And again, if you've nothing good to say, just shut up. We're not interested. Now, that's not very mellow. That's not very mellow. And I'm sorry, I may not have been that articulate on this. I feel, I don't know. Sometimes you kind of go, oh, let's really kind of explore this, instead of just calling it for what it is. It's just toxic, poxy shite. And isn't life tough enough? Haven't we got enough to be dealing with without having to listen to that? Rhadisat Adeleke is an inspiration. She is amazing. She is fantastic. She is such an impressive young Irish woman. I'm just thrilled every time I see her compete. I think she's fantastic every time she speaks. She's just cool and smart and, applying herself to her craft, her sport at such a high level. And it's really exciting. The Olympics are coming up, and she's clearly got a chance to compete, for medals. So, listen, she's not going to listen to this. But she has loads of fans and loads of admirers and loads of friends and people who know what's what. And I'm sure I know she's had there's been an outpouring of support for her in the wake of that racist rubbish. So hopefully she's feeling pretty secure that, most of us do not feel that way about her, and are delighted to call her, Irish and one of our own. And so it should be. So like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, the whole changing face of Ireland, whether it's Black Irish, Asian Irish, Eastern European Irish, whatever it might be. I love it. I love it. It's culturally enriching. It makes us stronger. And I think most Irish people get it. I think most Irish people are into it. And I really hope that's the case for people who are forced to have that question put to them that challenges their own identity and their sense of who they are and their sense of belonging. Anyway, look. Good luck. Look, hopefully if you're someone who listens to this podcast, you're probably on board with this line of thinking anyway. So I'm preaching to the choir, I presume. Okay, that's it. Thanks very much for listening. Don't be a racist. Just be nice, be thoughtful, be considerate. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. Yeah? Let's just put that on top of your laptop, or the next time you go to, share some thoughts and just one final thought there. There's the other part of this, the social media thing is, people do stuff for the likes, for the thumbs ups, to get the pats on the back, the pats on the head online. Maybe go and find that out there in the real world. Go and find it internally. Find the affirmation you need internally, and make some real friendships with people who are sound and decent, and where it might not be so easy to say racist crap, and get your get human contact from good people, and get offline, because it's much, the real world experience is much richer. Okay, go and look at a blackbird. Go and look at some green. Okay, that's it. I'm done. Listen, thanks for listening. Find me on social media. Instagram, Facebook. The podcast goes out on YouTube every week. It's on Spotify, Pocket Casts, wherever you get your podcasts, you should find The Clear Out. And leave a review, leave a comment, share it, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. And if you really think, hey, this is good stuff, you can go, hey, that guy puts a bit of effort into that every single blooming week. You can support this on Patreon. That's patreon.com/The Clear Out. And for the price of a coffee, a sandwich, a couple of bars of chocolate, you can give me some love there as well. It should be great. It'd be fantastic. Okay, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you choosing this podcast over all the others that are out there. I hope you felt it was worth your time. That's it. Go forward. Be nice. Be decent. Be thoughtful. Mind yourselves. All the best. Bye.